just, and when you try to reason with him or like offer, like he understands consequences. When he does something impulsively and then there's a consequence, like if he loses gym time or has to sit, he will not fight you on that. But if you try to like react in the situation, that's when things escalate the worst. Like if he does something, you talk to him about it, we move on, then he loses the consequence, he can be totally fine. Like sit out in the gym. He can sit right next to you, does not fight with you, like completely complacent. But if you're trying to correct something he did right in the moment, it just escalates beyond, like you just can't get him back then. It just keeps going and going and going. And you're just like, it doesn't have to be this way.
Right.
So, I don't know. We're still learning. But
yeah, I mean, yeah, it sounds like you're doing some trial and error. And then, you know, I think some of the things that you're doing are okay in terms of figuring him out. But I would encourage you to start to diary, journal the food, and you know any other factors if you can sit back and see if there are any precursors to that behavior. When he's at school, does he have a snack or anything like that in kindergarten?
I don't think maybe they do, like right at the end of their day. I know they eat breakfast when they get there. And then they might have a snack in kindergarten if they have time. And then, like, literally within 25 minutes of coming to us, we go to lunch.
Okay. So maybe if the teacher is so cooperative with sending colored cards, and if she's willing to write down what they had for breakfast and lunch, or sorry, breakfast and if they have a snack, then that might give you some, I mean, the more information you have to work with, the better.
Yeah.
Okay. So give that a try. Okay, any other questions or comments? Okay.
Nope.
So this next section is something we would have done in class, but I'm going to explain this tool that you can use. I mean, actually, we probably wouldn't have done it because it's just our group is so small, but when you have a larger group, this is something that's interesting to do with kids. So this is, or with people, it's a human intelligence scavenger hunt. Because what we're going to talk about next is multiple intelligences. Because in our school system and in our society, we've sort of identified one area of intelligence and tried to measure everybody against that, you know, one measurement tool, which is basically test taking. So children and people show their intelligences in a variety of different ways. So what we're going to do here is you would normally circulate among participants and ask questions to find out which participants match up with the different characteristics on the list below. When you find someone who matches one of the descriptions on the list, fill in the person's first name on the line provided and move on to someone else. Do not use anyone's name more than twice. As soon as you filled in all the blanks, then you would bring that back to the teacher. So, is there anyone in our group who frequently refers to things he or she has read or heard? Anyone in there? Okay, well, I do that, so I'm going to put my name in there. Okay, anyone can easily compute numbers in your head?
I'll tell you now, Rachel's not here, but you should see her head. She does that very well.
Okay, so we're gonna put Rachel in because I'm recording this, so she can watch this later. Okay.
She'll love this.
Okay. Does anyone enjoy words like Scrabble or anagrams or password?
No.
Okay.
Like no. Like, no, I do not enjoy Scrabble.
Okay.
I've actually never even played.
Okay.
I know.
All right. How about working with your hands? Sewing, weaving, carving? Okay. Often has a television jingle or other tune in your mind?
I usually have a song.
Okay. All right. Is interested in the latest scientific developments?
That's got to be Rachel.
Okay, so I heard that's got to be Rachel, and somebody else said something, and I missed it.
No, it was Joyce.
Okay.
Rachel's there too, but I do that too.
Okay.
She and I actually talk about things.
Okay, so Joyce, can I put your name here?
Sure can.
Okay. I was, if you weren't going to speak up, I was going to suggest that because of you asking me to repeat the statistics about the brain, about the, yeah. Okay, likes finding logical flaws in things people say or do. Passes time
Personally or
doing.
privately?
Yeah.
Nobody that's up to that.
I don't think it matters, either or. Is that you, Kim?
You can put me there for that. Sure, I'm open to it.
Okay. I sometimes, well, I do that too. I just can't use my name more than once. I already put myself for the first one. But when I came home on Thursday evening, I had about 8 inches of water in my basement. And I was shocked because I just had 2 sump pumps installed in the basement, and I couldn't figure out what was going on. Now, if you all were going to set up a sump pump, even if you don't know how to do that, what would be the very last thing you would do to complete that setup?
Turn it on.
Test it.
Not turn it on. Before you could even turn it on or test it, what would you have to do?
Plug it in.
That would be it.
Oh, my word.
And neither of them were plugged in. Like,
Great.
that is a logical flaw in something someone did that I paid to do to keep my basement from
I'm
flooding.
so sorry.
So then I had to go over and find a way to plug it in. Now, we know that water and electricity don't mix, and not only were they not plugged in, but the plugs were sitting in the water.
Great.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
So I had to dry them
So
off,
get your money back.
let them air dry, and then I had to take a wooden chair,
Oh
I
my.
didn't want a metal chair, and stand on that wooden chair and then plug them in. So the basement is now water, and the water's gone, but I was very irritated. So
I don't blame you.
okay, anyone past time doodling?
I do.
Nicole, that was definitely you.
Yeah.
Okay. And then keeps a personal journal to record events of his or her inner life. Does anyone keep a journal?
No.
I actually do, but ready to use my name.
Okay, because we only have, I think, April, we only have you left who hasn't been mentioned, okay? Can you see anything on this list where we can put your name?
Yeah.
Are you
I
going
was
to pick
thinking
would
it.
rather go party?
No, it has easy time making friends. I'm a very social person.
16.
Okay. Numbers, thank you. Okay, I was like, which one is that? Okay. All right, so what you can do, and we're going to talk about the multiple intelligences next time, in this next section, but you can either rewrite these to have kids do them, or you can do these for the kids if you notice that they're doing different things. And this is going to give you some insight into their intelligence and the way in which they show their intelligence, because there are many, many ways to do this. I mean, how many people do you know who are really, really book smart but have a very difficult time relating to other people?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Too
and
many.
so the problem is that unless they choose a profession where they don't have to work with anyone, interpersonal skills are a huge part of life, so and it's important to develop these different intelligences. So the way this came about is this is Gardner's theory of multiple intelligences, and it was developed relatively recently in terms of, because we talk about like Piaget and Vygotsky and all those people were like a century ago, but Gardner in 1983, he developed this theory of multiple intelligences. So it suggests that the traditional notion of intelligence based on IQ testing is very limited. He defines intelligence as the ability to solve problems or to fashion products that are valued in one or more cultural and community setting. Initially, Gardner's theory accounted for 7 intelligences to better indicate the range of human potential in children and adults, but then he added an 8th later on, and there seems to be some consideration of a 9th intelligence by a researcher, which is existential intelligence. So we're going to talk about all these different areas. So right now, since the 9th one is only under consideration, it's not listed here as an intelligence yet, But I would like, let's see, for each person to take a different intelligence, because my mouth is starting to get dry from talking so much. So just read that area and then explain it to the rest of the group. So April, if you could take linguistic intelligence. Joyce, if you could take logical mathematical intelligence. Kim, spatial. Lindsay, body or kinesthetic intelligence. And Nicole, musical intelligence. And then I'll do the last three. So just take a second to read yours, and then we'll go back and explain. Okay, does anyone need more time?
No.
Nope.
Okay, so April, tell us about linguistic intelligence.
Is the ability to absorb information and communicate through reading, writing, and speaking and listening.
Yeah. So does that sound familiar, especially those of you? Go ahead. Do you have more to add to that?
No, go ahead. You can go.
Okay, she's like, no, I'm done. And those of you who have a bachelor's degree in elementary ed, that combination of words, reading, writing, speaking, and listening, does that look familiar to you?
The standards, aren't they?
Yes.
Part of the standards, but where else did you see it?
And a lot of our testing, I mean, that's when we first start doing just the basic testing with our kindergarten kids.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the tower, the, what's the other one that the little guys, I don't do that one very much.
Dibbles?
Kim, do you know the one testing tool that they use a lot at the elementary level for reading?
Dibbles?
Dibbles?
Dibbles, that's
Yeah.
what I'm thinking about, thanks. Dibbles,
Yeah.
that type of thing. That's
Yes.
how they're set up.
Yep, that's how these are set up. And the other thing is, you know, when I was in college, the big thing was whole language, which was reading, writing, speaking, and listening across the curriculum. So they did that on all these different subjects. And what that did was that promoted intelligence or measured intelligence only in the linguistic area. So, you know, it became problematic because we realized a lot of kids weren't learning what they were supposed to be learning. So there's a time and place for this, but this is not the only thing we want to do. None of these are the only things we want to do. Okay? All right, so Joyce, how about the logical mathematical intelligence?
The ability to use numbers and reasoning effectively, the first thing that I went to was right brain versus left brain thinking.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times people that are good with the logic mathematical intelligence are considered left brain thinkers versus right brain thinkers.
Right.
We're just, you know, which side of our brain is a little stronger than the other.
Right. Okay. And so you were talking about Rachel before with that ability to just calculate those numbers. And, you know, she strikes me as she's got reasoning skills that she uses those effectively. So this is one area of intelligence where we could measure, you know, and somebody could show great intelligence in this area and maybe not great intelligence in another area, and that's okay. You know, nobody ever said, there's like no law that ever said everyone's got to be good at everything.
Right.
Right? So we need to recognize that early on for kids. How about,
the other way I went with this was I was also thinking about visual versus oral learners. I find that a lot of my kids that are good at mathematics, especially when they can do numbers in their head, tend to be visual learners. You know, you see their little eyeballs go up because they're looking up at something in their brain, and they're visualizing those numbers, or they're visualizing those things rather than linguistically going somewhere else, like inside themselves, to hear it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
I have a little girl that is very visual, and every time she does her spelling words or she does her math, her little eyes, you can just see them go right, both her eyes go right up, up.
Yeah. It's really very fascinating to watch, you know, and once you start to learn about a lot of this stuff, you're going to be like, oh, wow, that really is true, you know. So it's very cool to watch it in action. So, yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Okay, Kim, spatial intelligence.
Is the ability to visualize and create representations of what one sees.
Okay, so
Did you want me to
can you
elaborate more?
think of an example where that happens with any of your kids?
I would say like creating patterns, I guess. Like if you
Mhm.
have to know like colors and numbers and I mean, you have to like anything you want them to copy you doing, like modeling behavior, anything like that. If you want it to be represented, you have to see it.
Right. Yeah, and a lot of this comes out with art as well. Okay, when they're
Yeah.
recreating something that they saw before and it's their representation of what they've seen. Okay?
Annie, I have a question about that.
Sure.
Because I haven't worked with little guys as much as you have. I see spatial intelligence in older kids and adults more than I see it in little kids. And maybe I just don't know what I'm looking for with the 12 and under group. It's very easy for me to see spatial intelligence with a 12 and over group or with adults.
Right.
I'm thinking of code writers, somebody that's writing code for computers. I'm thinking of architects, but it's very difficult for me to see it in the 12 and under group. What am I looking for?
The biggest area where you're going to see it is in block building.
Okay.
For young kids, okay, because they're recreating, they're able to visualize in their head what they want to create, and it's a representation of something that they've seen. So they understand, think about spatial relationships of on top, below, behind, in front of, next to, same size, same shape, different size, different shape. So they're going to need to have some spatial intelligence to create block structures.
Okay. I just wasn't sure what to look for at that level. Thanks.
Yeah, so that's the biggest thing, and then like we said with art, also, I mean, just the placement of things and the scale to which they draw them and proportions. Those are the things that you're going to look for.
Okay.
Okay, Lindsay, body
Yes.
kinesthetic intelligence.
Is the ability to understand and master both gross motor and fine motor skills.
Okay, so you all know, like, you have some kids in your class who are like really athletic and have the gross motor stuff just nailed, and then you have some other kids who are a little awkward, don't have that running skill down. I mean, it's not their strong point. And then you've got kids who really have that ability with fine motor to do beautiful handwriting, neat and legible, and other kids struggle with that. So those are intelligences. And that doesn't mean that if a child doesn't have that ability, that they can't learn it. You can encourage the different areas of intelligence, but some kids just, like I remember in high school, I have a friend who the gross motor stuff was she just wasn't into it, and in gym class, back then we had to do like the President's Challenge, and you had to do like relay races and pull-ups and push-ups and different things. And so I remember she was like running to grab the baton and running back, and the gym teacher said to her, "Can you do it again and not prance?" And she laughed, and she had the ability to laugh at herself. That wasn't her strong suit, but she had a real mastery of fine motor skills. So it just depends on each child. Okay, and then Nicole, how about musical intelligence?
It's the ability to relate to music through the enjoyment, creation, and performance of it. So it's like the kids that play instruments or they study music in the background. And I know in our class we have a lot of kids, especially teaching kindergarten. A lot of them will learn more easily if something is sung or tapped out. And so we do a lot of music, and especially like the morning routine when we're learning the days of the week or the month and stuff like that.
Right. Absolutely. I mean, most children do enjoy music, and it's very interesting because we can see this even in babies. There is some research that shows, I don't remember the exact article, but I can find it if you're interested, Joyce. So there's
I think I know what you're talking about, actually. It's in utero.
Well, it's not about, the babies recognize, after they're born, They recognize music and lullabies that were played for them when they were in utero.
In utero, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So, and they respond to them more than they respond to unfamiliar music. So, you know, this is stuff that starts way, way, way early. And even last night, my daughter was a mess because the night before she woke up at like 12:30 in the morning and was awake until 4. So she got very little sleep that night, as did I. But, she, you know, she's 3, so she can't handle that as well as an adult can. Although, I don't know, maybe I didn't handle it well yesterday either. I'm not sure. In any event, she was a mess last night. And so to calm her down, I put on this, like, you know, relaxation Zen music while she was in the bathtub, and she just stopped and was listening to it, and she just went, that's pretty music. And so even at age 3, kids have that ability to appreciate or not appreciate, and whether it was beautiful or not to anyone else's ears is irrelevant, because she found it pretty and she was able to verbalize that, you know. So that musical intelligence is there for a lot of kids. There are some people who can't carry a tune. That doesn't mean that they don't enjoy music. They just might not create it or, you know, perform it or something like that. Okay? And then interpersonal intelligence is the ability to interact with people and understand them and their behaviors. And a little bit of this is getting back to what we were talking about before, like when somebody does something, to be able to stand back and say, you know, why is somebody doing what they're doing? What is the reason behind their behavior? And understanding them and why they're doing their behavior. Okay? That's a difficult intelligence for a lot of people to master. You have to, I mean, psychologists and psychiatrists do this a lot, but they've also studied patterns of behavior. You need to understand patterns of behavior sometimes in order to understand other people. Now, you would be if you have the interpersonal intelligence skills, you're most likely going to use these with the people you interact with the most, which would be your family, and if you're at a job for a long time, maybe some of your peers. Okay? And then intrapersonal intelligence is the ability to understand yourself, including one's feelings and motivations, understanding why you do what you do. So it's really fascinating because if you think about when you lived at home, and maybe some of you still do live at home with your parents, you know, you sort of fall into family patterns about, you know, concerning different things. It might be patterns of eating, it might be patterns of relaxation, how you handle tension, stress. And a lot of times when you get out of your family environment, you start to develop different patterns and habits of your own. But then the second you go back home to visit, like, those old patterns just bubble up, and it's something really difficult to change. It really is. And even if you intellectually understand that maybe something that you're doing is not the best course of action, oftentimes you'll still go back to it because it's the most comfortable, because it's what you've been doing your whole life. So, you know, when you start to get really introspective and understand your own motivation and feelings, you know, you can start to make changes or not make changes based on what you want for your life and for yourself. So that's intrapersonal intelligence. Okay?
Annie, I don't know how many people are married, but I find this bubbles up in marriages, you know. Just,
oh my goodness, yes.
I'm actually feel like I'm going through all this right now in my life.
Okay, so
breaking away from the mold of my family and just, I don't know.
Well, you're right, and you know, when you bring up marriage, it's funny. I mean, funny, not funny, haha. But it's funny because everybody grows up with their idea of what marriage is supposed to be, and most of that is based on what you witnessed as a child.
Yeah.
And growing up with your family. And so you tend to act that way in relationships because you think that that's the expectation of marriage that you have. And so where we get lost sometimes is when our spouse our spouse didn't grow up in our family, so their patterns are going to be different. So you might be left kind of scratching your head or being a little disillusioned, like, what are you doing? Or understanding your spouse's expectations for what marriage is. So, there's a book called The 50 Hard Questions to Ask Before You Say I Do. And whenever a friend of mine gets engaged, that's their engagement present. So they can sit down and talk about that. And it's things like, what are your expectations regarding household chores? What are your expectations regarding where we're going to live, the type of house we're going to live in, what the space is going to look like, what kind of furniture that you want to have in your house? Because again, everybody comes at this with their own interpretation of what they want and what they think it's supposed to be. So I remember at least I read that book with my husband before we got married, and when we were talking about space, like how our space looks, he's like, I just want my den, and I want to be able to decorate my den however I want. And I already had seen his furniture, so I was okay with it. So, and he's like, and you could do whatever you want with the rest of the house. I was like, okay, I'm cool with that. And then at some point, he said, it was about our living room. He's like, I wish I had never said that. I'm like, why? And he's like, well, because I would really love it if this room had this. I'm like, okay, we can change it, and then you negotiate. But yeah, it's hard sometimes because everybody comes to the table with a different expectation. So those interpersonal and intrapersonal intelligences are just really important to try to develop if you want to have successful relationships with other people.
And what is the name of the book again? 50 Questions?
The 50 Hard Questions to Ask Before You Say I Do. Or something to that effect.
No, because it's really funny that you brought that up, because sitting in front of me, because I was looking through some of my books because you asked the book question.
Oh, it's 100, sorry.
5 love languages.
We read that.
Yeah, that's a good one. There's also
100 hard questions.
Yeah, it's 100. Yeah, sorry.
I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is a really neat book. This is the hard questions, 100 questions to ask before you say I do. The love languages.
I like that Wheel of Fortune came up. What is that?
What's that? That's really funny. But there is a love languages for children also. Did you know that?
What in the world?
Did you hear that?
What?
No, I think I lost you for a little bit.
No,
Okay.
I didn't hear anything.
Okay. Did you hear there is also a love languages for children?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no, that's neat.
Yes.
Is it written by Gary Chapman? The same
I'm
guy
pretty
wrote
sure
the
that it is.
Okay, I can...
Yeah, I think it is.
It is.
Oh, yeah, there you go. That's neat.
Okay. So this is
Something
really great.
else I came upon. It's the guy that does Lapping Your Way to a Better Marriage. Let me try and find his name. He does like a flag page. Let me see if I can explain it to you. Let's see what his name is. Mark Gunder. And anyway, this is kind of like what we're talking about today, but a little bit off subject. But he does a flag page where it kind of, it's not like a personality test, but it kind of explains you as a person and helps you like understand each other better, which kind of goes along with the love languages and things like that.
Yeah,
Well,
I mean,
I've seen that done with kids. I think I know what
Yes.
you're talking about, and that really goes back to all these different intelligences, because
Right.
it allows children to express themselves in many different ways, and we can understand their different intelligences.
yeah.
So I think for kids there's a game instead of the test for help parents kind of figure out, what makes them tick and understand, just the way they were made.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, anything that helps us understand each other is really good stuff. Okay, so the last one for Gardner is the naturalist intelligence, is that ability to recognize, appreciate, and understand the natural world. So these are your kids who love to go on the nature walks and they're like, that's a beautiful tree, or look at that acorn, and they just have that, you know, ability to appreciate that. Okay. Okay. So let me see how much I want to get into here. Okay, this is the pretty much the last part of it. So when we consider the different intelligences, you know, this last part of the handouts talk about how is that going to affect, you know, when you keep this in mind, how is this going to affect what you do with your program? And some of this we talked about, you know, already, like in terms of scheduling and stuff like that. So I'll just highlight a few of these. So the space, you know, you want to have that space available for the high-level activity and the low-level activity. You know, and Kim, this is what we were talking about before. I asked you if you have a quiet space, so that comfortable, quiet, soothing, private area should be provided for children who are easily frustrated. And what I like to do is to give them things to use in that area. So like those stress balls that they can squeeze, or sensory bottles. Have you guys ever used any of those sensory bottles?
Yeah.
They're like, you know, you get empty water bottles, the clear ones, and you can fill them with things like water and food coloring and glitter. You want to super glue or hot glue gun the lids shut, though. Okay, I'm just letting you know that now, or else you will be sorry that you didn't. They can shake those up. You know, a lot of times I'll use that instead of a timeout with little kids. I'll shake up the glitter bottle and I'll give it to them and I'll say, when all of the glitter stops moving, then you can get up from the chair and come back. And so what they do is, first of all, they're watching glitter fall through water, which happens pretty slowly in the grand scheme of things, so it calms them down. And then they want to shake it again. So they wind up sitting there for like 3 or 4 minutes. And by the time that amount of time has gone by, then they're really calm. You've distracted them with something that helps calm them down. And then they're able to rejoin the group and they're not as escalated. So
have you ever made a wave bottle? It's a similar type of situation. That you can, you mix the oil and the water, and I forget which one of them picks up the food coloring, and you can just rock it back and forth.
Yeah, the water picks up the food coloring. There's a wave bottle. If you Google sensory, I can spell it.
Oh, that's neat. Sensory bottle ideas.
You can get, and I'll show you some images here of sensory bottles.
Nice.
Neat.
That's not very clear.
That'd just be a neat.
Oh, there it is.
The kids could make them for themselves.
They absolutely can,
we have
and they
them
love to do it. I've done ones where I take pictures of the kids, and I mean, these are really fancy ones, but you can make, you know, these are pretty easy. I'll take pictures of the kids and cut out their faces and put all of their pictures in the bottle, and then they can shake it up to try to find themselves or their friends. This one here is a great one, where this one you want to keep open because it does help with their fine motor. They're trying to get all those little pom-poms out of there. So, and they count them, sort them, line them up, make patterns, things like that. This looks like the glitter one. You can put those little jewel things in it and have them swirl those around. You can get as simple as putting colored water and a couple drops of dish soap in. And that's going to, when you shake it, it'll give you this one that's got all the different bubbles. I did one that had a little bit of dirt and water in it, so that was the mud bottle. I did another one that had oatmeal in it, and I put metal objects in it, like paper clips and things like that. And then on the outside, I had one of those wand magnets. So if they put it up near the oatmeal, it would pull all of the metal objects out of the oatmeal. So that was the treasure hunt bottle. They could search for treasure with that. So that was really cool. Trying to think of what else. I mean, you can get just so many ideas. This is a book, Discovery Bottles. I mean, it's a book. If you want, but really, if you want more ideas, you can just, you know, take a look and see. I'm going to put myself on Do Not Disturb for Skypes, and I just realized my cousin popped online, and I didn't want her to start talking to us. So, okay. So these are really cool, Kim. You might want to try some of these, you know, and if if he wants. But here's the thing. If you're going to use this in conjunction with behavior, so if you have like your silly corner or your bottle corner or whatever, where he starts to act up and he, wants to blow off steam, or you need him to calm down, you're going to send him to this area, but that's, this is only done in that area. Okay? Okay, is that better?
Hopefully. Let's see if that works.
Okay. Sometimes it's just a matter of muting and unmuting my mic.
Okay, thank you.
Okay? Sorry about that. Okay. Yeah, just if it happens again, just write in the chat box. Eventually I do see it when I don't hear anyone responding. So, okay. Okay. So that's environment, and schedule we already talked about, but you do want to provide some regularly scheduled routines to support children who find it difficult to adapt to change. So what I like to talk about, having a picture schedule for them so that they know what comes next is important, and it's not a great idea to deviate from that, and if you're going to, give them plenty of warning. So if Thursday is normally your art day and you have a kid who really loves art, but you're going to go on a walk instead, then you want to let them know that the day before. Normally tomorrow is art day, but instead of art, we're going to go on a nature walk, and then on Friday we're going to have art. Okay? Groupings, we talked about.
When we do our scheduling, we also check when we've accomplished, when we've gotten through that section. And there are kids that really like that too. Oh yeah, I'm successful. I've accomplished that check.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Sometimes too, I've seen it done where like they'll have, and this actually was a really cool idea. The teacher got a cookie sheet, and I think I've actually seen this on Pinterest too. But a cookie sheet, and then took magnets and then printed out pictures of the different activities and put them on the magnets. So she would have them as their things to do on the top, and as they did them, the kids could move the magnets from the top to the bottom, and they really enjoyed that too.
And if you want something bigger than a cookie sheet, you can go to a hardware store like Home Depot or Lowe's, and you can purchase either 4x4 or 4x8 pieces of metal like that it's used for roofing or siding.
Yep.
Because on Pinterest I saw somebody that had done that, and they put, actually I know somebody that did that, they put it up on the wall and framed it and then had a section for each kid.
Yeah, and I actually did that for my daughter because our refrigerator is stainless steel, so she can't put magnets on it. so I did that, and she's got all her letter magnets and different, things like that. So she loves to play with that. Kids love that kind of stuff. Okay. Groupings we talked about, of being careful and considering temperament and intelligences when you, when you group kids together. And then the staff roles and responsibilities, this kind of gets back to that little activity that we did when we said, okay, what are some things that you like to do? When you identify that there are children in your classroom that like to do the same kinds of things, chances are they have a similar dominant intelligence. And that can help you with grouping and planning activities and scheduling and things like that too. So being aware and individualizing your supervision and learning activities for the different kids, making sure that not all the kids are assigned to leading activities or being like line leader or this and that. I mean, you're going to have kids who have that tendency to be leaders, and I'm not saying to not help support that and develop that, but you want to give other kids that opportunity also. Okay, any questions about what we covered there?
Nope.
Okay, can everybody still hear me?
Yep.
Okay, I just want to make sure we didn't get lost. Okay, so one of the things that I really like to cover, and this is actually one of your, you have a children's literature assignment as one of your binder number assignment things, resource collection file. So I asked you all to tell me about your favorite book, children's literature book. So we're going to pull these up one at a time, and I just want you to share with everybody why you picked this book in particular. So Kim, did you pick Skippy John Jones? Is that you?
Yeah, you're feeding him out again.
Yes.
Yes.
I was just going to send a message because I didn't know if I could be heard.
Okay, is
We
that
can
better?
hear each other okay. Like, every time someone talks, I hear everybody else come through okay.
Yeah.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Can you repeat what you just said? It was like in and out.
I said, Kim, I think you picked Skippy John Jones.
Certainly I did.
Okay. So tell us a little bit about the book and why you like it.
With Skippy John Jones, I don't know if everybody knows my little Siamese cat or not. He is a Siamese cat. He's not a Chihuahua. Don't be fooled. He wants to. And the reason why he's my favorite is because it's so fun to read. He has a very fun accent, and you can tell how you're supposed to read it. And if you have trouble with how you're supposed to read it, the author, Judy, she does a lot of, almost all the books come with audio CDs. So if you wouldn't feel comfortable reading it that way, you can just play that and it comes through. I just love everything about the stories because they're so fun. He has a very big imagination, and a lot of the stuff is bilingual. So they go into using a lot of Spanish, and the way that I use it is we have like different themes we do every week, and I usually do this as a children's literature theme where I just do Skippy John Jones week, and we just do a lot of fun activities that go along with each one of the books because there's about like 6 or 7 that I know of that I use, and we just kind of play into activities with, like I said, the bilingual, learning Spanish words. We do. He has like a mummy one, so we learn about Egypt and mummies and pyramids. He has a Lost in Spice, which is a space book, so we talk about space. It's just a lot of themes you can loop into with him.
Okay, very cool. Thank you. Okay, April. Let's see. Let's go back here.
Yeah.
And I pulled up.
I picked
You said
One
Dr.
Fish, Two Fish, Red
Oh,
Fish,
okay,
Blue
that's
Fish.
right.
I like all Dr. Seuss books because they have rhyming, and I like rhyming, and it just gets the kids, like, the older kids to try to work on talking faster, and I just enjoy watching them read.
Yeah, I mean, Dr.
But,
Seuss.
yeah, all my favorite books are Dr.
Yeah.
Seuss.
They're classics, right? You know, they involve so many different skills, colors, counting, rhyming, language. I mean, there's just so much with Dr. Seuss. And then, Joyce, I think that you picked Dr. Seuss also.
I had said any Dr. Seuss book, and I think the two of you hit it on the head, but even some of the Dr. Seuss books have, like, Oh, the Places, yes, and Oh, the Places You'll Go, I give that as a graduation gift.
Yeah.
And you can see that it's a wonderful graduation gift. There's even like a moral to the story type of thing.
Right. So, yeah, I just pulled this one up. When you said Dr. Seuss, I pulled this one up because this is one of my favorites also. And this is a great gift for transition for kids, you know. So, like, when they're going to, you know, leaving preschool, going into kindergarten, regular school, when they're leaving elementary school, going into middle school, you know, this is a great gift or just a great resource for you to have available for them to read. Okay. Nicole, tell us about Pete the cat.
Yeah, can anybody else hear
I
her?
can't hear Annie, but I can hear the rest of you.
I know. I don't know why that keeps happening.
I don't know either. Is that better?
Should we write her?
Oh, there she is.
It's in and out.
That's really weird.
We can hear each other just fine.
Right, and I can hear all of you just fine. Can you hear me now okay?
A little bit.
can
It's
hear
still
you now,
like
but
staticky.
In 1 minute, who knows?
Right. Okay. Let me check something real quick.
Does it get confused if we all get excited and start talking or humming or coughing at the same time?
Maybe. Okay, let me try this.
It should not, because I've used GoToMeeting with my Optimist Club, and we all talk at one time, and that's never been an issue, like with feedback and that type of thing.
Okay. Does that seem to sound better?
Yeah.
Yeah, for now.
Okay.
Hopefully.
So
Okay.
right now,
So Pete the cat. Nicole, tell us about Pete the cat.
Yeah.
There you go.
Uh-oh.
Yep.
See?
Lost
Got excited.
It's hissing. Yeah. Okay, well, I love Pete the Cat, and I actually changed my mind when I was thinking about it. I also love Fancy Nancy
Okay.
because we do like I know, I'm difficult. We do like a character week, and one of the days we did Fancy Nancy, and I just love how she's adorable, but it's like a fun book, and it introduces larger vocabulary words, and a lot of the kids started saying those words, so obviously it worked. But yeah, I just love the books. They're adorable.
Okay.
No, that's cute.
So Fancy Nancy. She's pretty fancy.
She is.
Okay.
how do the kids do with the font of that text?
When they read it on their own, you mean?
Yes.
Normally older grades read them or get them from the library.
Okay.
Kindergarten, I read it to them.
Yeah.
But I know, I'd say like 3rd, 4th graders normally get them.
Then they'll do well with that font.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
different.
think, yeah, it all depends on the age of the child.
Absolutely.
Okay. I'm going to try something else. I'm going to unshare my screen and share my screen again to see if that makes a difference, because I wonder, since I'm transmitting information, if that's what's creating a problem on my end. Am I still breaking up?
I can hear you. I could just hear you.
Okay. All right. Is anyone else having problems hearing me?
There's a lot of reverberation, echoing.
Echoing. Okay.
That might be my computer.
Your speakers might be set up too high.
That's a possibility.
Okay.
That was better.
Okay. Good. Okay. Chicka chicka boom boom. Lindsay.
Now there you go again.
I picked this one. It's probably for like a younger age, but I just remember loving this when I was little. I love how it rhymed and just like seeing the alphabet and like we would say the mommy letter and the baby letter. So it was good for like the younger kids to recognize. I would say an older collection of books is I also love the Berenstain Bears. And I think it teaches kids all sorts of different things. Maybe a new baby in the family, you're moving, Berenstain Bears learn to play together. So I think it touches on a lot of different subjects or topics that the kids might experience in their life. So I also love the Berenstain Bears.
Yeah, those are good. These are great for teaching social skills, you know, and just developing character, you know. So the Berenstain Bears and the truth, the Berenstain Bears forget their manners, the Berenstain Bears, you know, kindness counts. All of these are absolutely great for working with, you know, teaching to kids and having them available.
Static issues?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, I'm going to exit the meeting, and then I'm going to come back. Okay?
Okay.
Alrighty.